Hi, everyone. This is Vicente Cruz, Oakland Greens Event and Fundraising Coordinator, and welcome to our February Public General Meeting on business. Before I go over the agenda or anything else, I definitely want to get for the tape to have posted just remembering a Green Party member from Sonoma County, Susan Chucho, who has passed away suddenly, and that was just wanted to give remembrance. I actually know Susan fairly well from doing the state party meetings and then on social media connecting with the Sonoma County Greens as well. So we just want to be Susan Chucho Presente and uh, all the best to her family and in this time as they grieve, and I hope they grieve well. All right. So for our agenda review, we're going to move events to the end, which we have concerning concern request over November Oakland Greens free date night comedy open mic from Critical Hit, which the email had gone out at the beginning of the week. County consensus has a bunch of name changes on that one. Civil War, the report back from January. No ice rally report back. And then, of course, we have our movie night next week coming up, The Princess Bride. Our discussion topics are the dildo direct actions that are going on at ICE facilities, Epstein Files, the victim privacy failure, how they redacted all the accused but none of the survivors. What else is that? Oh, that's okay. That's part of that. A discussion on the shooting of Renee Good and Mike Parente. And in that too are ideas of whether if the ICE agents that we have now and the MAGA crowd and Proud Boys and all that are the same people. If resigning in protest works, as a lot of established politicians and lawyers and stuff are doing. There was a protest at a Ford plant when a union member read out called President Trump a protector of pedophiles. Possible new ways to be safe during direct actions. If we get to it, the halftime shows, but I just put that on there because it was topical. County Green Party events, the holiday party report back from December, candidate petition signing report back, Suds, Snacks, and Socialism report back. And then we have our social media and outreach, which is a little bit more now because it's in our second meeting of our Peralta Hacienda Bay Resistance meeting. And this will be actually can do report backs on both. There was a Cory Booker town hall that I put on for some reason. Oh, that I had purchased the speaker. I think I already did that one. Then it's announcements and then offline again, Treasury report and the one events. Is there anything I need to add to that? I can actually take that one off because everyone knows I did that. All right. Thank you very much. And we're moving past all of that. So does everyone know about the direct actions at ICE facilities where they're throwing dildos at ICE vehicles and sticking them to ICE cars?
I think I've seen something like that on TikTok or Instagram like that.
Yes, it's all over social media at the moment. So the reason I put that up there too, for a few reasons, as you know, working with the Green Party, trying to be environmentally conscious, I don't think it's a good idea because all of that silicone and fake flesh and all that stuff is just going to end up in landfills or in the ocean. And of course, it goes back to the fact too, the Oakland Greens are very big on saying, and you really want to affect some real change, figure out how to run slates of candidates for office. Just going up and harassing ICE agents at ICE facilities and all that stuff where protests have their place. There's also, you have to go down the rabbit hole and imagine that this is exactly what the fascists want. They are hoping that people will get actually violent. They don't want these little joke direct actions. They want them to get violent so then they can declare martial law. So my take on it was, again, that environmentally it's not sound. It's funny, but I don't think it actually accomplishes what we really kind of want to accomplish. Any thoughts? Oh, fine.
I think I think it was a statement for sure. But when you said that like the silicone could affect the environment, I didn't really think of it like that. I think everyone just got caught up in the moment, the anger, because obviously they framed her as like an assassin or a bad person, Renee Good, and that I haven't seen like an interview. Maybe I did bad on my part, but not like searching for it. But I haven't seen an interview of like Renee's Good's wife or children or anything like that. It's just they just used her name as a narrative and they just ran with it.
And they did the same thing to Peretti as well, right? He was immediately labeled a domestic terrorist when everybody watched it live. It's like so silly, but it's kind of one of those ones. If you tell the lie long enough, people start to believe it. And again, in going down the rabbit hole, we have said before in the Oakland Greens that it is our idea also that the reason a lot of the MAGA people can't admit of how much they're being conned and duped and the narratives are all lies is because then they'd have to admit it that they've been conned. And that's like a huge ego bruise. And we, if nothing, in America are very egotistical. We don't like, we're not as strong as we like to think we are, you know. So they did that as well.
Well, in some ways, that they've admitted defeat by saying that they're leaving Minneapolis, leaving Minnesota.
You really believe they're doing that? First off, they said they're only removed 700, and that would have brought the total down from 3,000. So that means they
Well,
still.
the new, in fact, they replaced their head guy with another guy, and the new guy said that within 2 weeks they're leaving.
Right. They did it with the border czar, and he's the same one that's under investigation for taking that bag full of $50,000 in cash. So again,
Yeah,
I
well,
too. And then again, let's keep going down the rabbit hole. Let's not make out like somehow the regular police were that great before ICE fucking showed up and started being Gestapo jackboots, right? They were still also the police were just running into communities too. They just happened to not be. It was like they were targeting black folks. They ain't targeting like it wasn't about rounding up just people who look like they might be undocumented.
well, they didn't. As far as I know, the regular police didn't kill two white people in the space of a couple of weeks. So that's what
No,
really got them. So
right. No, they don't. Yeah, it's only us. They're still shooting in Minneapolis, as it were, in Ferguson and all this stuff too. Another thing I haven't heard about is, which is also the topic too, is that, people, this goes around on social media as well. We haven't heard a lot from the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers or any of those groups. And there is a, fan fiction or whatever, rumor, whatever you want to call it, that because they've all joined, they wanted that $50,000 bonus, which isn't a bonus, by the way. And that's why they're so easily to comply with just being, again, the violence wing of fascism, authoritarianism, right? That's what they're doing. And it may be that is what's happening. Because we have seen actual ICE agents with Nazi tattoos. Like they didn't cover their neck enough. And again, those images were going all over on social media as well. Well, I mean, also, like the Department of Defense secretary is a Nazi, has Nazi tattoos on his chest and is an alcoholic. So, I mean, none of it like surprises me or anything when we're doing it. Like, of course, all this is how do we how do we combat it, right? How do we talk about it, and change it? And one, of course, our idea is that rallies should be used as teach-ins to find slates of candidates and staff to get them elected so that we can change the legislation. Because I don't think that we can reform, and this is an Oakland Green position, cannot afford reform the system. We need to dismantle the current system and come up with a new one, right? We need to lock a bunch of smart people in a room, when you become the city council, school board, county councils, board of supervisors, and things, lock a bunch of smart people in a room and figure out how we transition out of this, right? We have to come up with a new system completely. Yeah. Oh, I see what that was too. The Epstein Files, which I should have, we ended up going right into Renee Good and Freddie, which is good because of the direct actions. But the Epstein Files, right, they've released 3.5 million more documents. They redacted still all of the actual pedophiles, but left, all of the uh, left all of the survivors. I'm also under the thing of not using the word victims while I take those pauses. But so there was inside of the new documents there, it shows also the connection, not just with, it's not just politicians. It really seems to have to do with income, that all these wealthy people are some of the most deviant. There was a talent agency where the head Jason Wasserman is mentioned in the files quite a bit, and some artists have left, and others have not, saying that it wouldn't make a difference. Well, I put forth the difference that if they all would have done like collective bargaining and all threatened, like, hey, we're going to leave you unless you get fired, and we need to get rid of all the other people who abuse, because it's obviously not just one. It never is. It seems to be, and it's been going on forever, right? I mean, they gave us some scapegoats with Harvey Weinstein, right? But they've never really done anything significant to stop this huge ring of people who are trafficking prepubescent girls and worse. Well,
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds because there's so much in the Epstein files. I mean, in theory, you could have dozens and dozens of these very wealthy people, very highly connected people, all go to prison. But just like with the 2008 financial crash, where the banks did all this illegal stuff to make all their fancy diced up mortgage loans. No bank executive spent any time in jail. There were some lower level people that got some sentences, and we'll see if any. We'll see if any of these wealthy people, highly connected people, gets any jail time.
right. And I, again, under the current system, I don't think so, right? Why? That they're all participating in it, and it's been going on forever. Um, and no one does it, like, and no one is uh definitely, well, of course not, but the Democrats say nobody calling for a fucking general strike, going, hey, we need to shut this down. Like, they could do it. It's actually, if you had the establishment, and when I say that, I even mean the activist industrial complex, right? Or the not-for-profit industrial complex. If David Packman, Amy Goodman, Noreen Shave, KPFA, blah, whoever, Southern Poverty Law Center, like all these places, and also the Judiciary Committee called for it, even after the mayor of Chicago did, right? They shut his ass up quick on trying to get that rolling. When him and the governor did it, they shut them down quick, right? They could, and it would work because that's really the only thing I get. Well, not the only thing, other than violence. The only thing they understand is when you hit him in the pocketbook. When you threaten to take away fucking any money being spent in the economy, crushing down into capitalism, that's what they would listen to, right? If we really had it. But again, they get funded by those same donors, right? The same people. Meta's funding the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. They pay for them both, right? That's one of the things the Green Party fucking says a lot of. Get corporate money out of politics. And it won't. Oh, that's actually a good segue too. So you have all these centrists that are resigning in protest from the DOJ, the Department of Defense, all over the government. Uh, and so my question is, do people think that that works?
Resigning and protest.
Correct.
Um, I'm so sorry, like government officials.
Yes, you've had lawyers in the Justice Department. You've had high-ranking generals retire. Um, in so-called protests because of everything like what Pam Bondi is doing. But what that does is that just leaves the idiots in charge, in my
Yeah,
opinion. And
yeah,
and now there's no one, no sane voice in the room. We've got idiocracy now running everything. And that's again for the tape. And it sounds like it's all going to be an Oakland Greens policy too, that we do not agree with that. Do not resign in protest. Right? Call for a general strike. Fight back. Refuse to fucking try the case. You could do that too, right? Don't resign. It's not really a big protest for me as well. All right, that was easy.
Well,
You go ahead, Greg.
I don't know. I mean, if you're in a position where your idiot boss, Biondi or whoever's underneath her is giving the orders, and your assignment is to do something that is just totally corrupt. Uh, you're not going to want to go through with that. So I can understand why people are resigning, and the morons that are still left there, they're going to be much, they're not going to be very competent. So their assignment is to do something evil, but most of them are not that competent. So hopefully they'll just bumble up stuff. Whereas the moral and competent people, they're not going to do it in the first place, even though they have the skills to carry it out. So I think on an individual basis, it's kind of like a moral thing. You're not going to violate your own morals. But yeah, in terms
yeah,
of changing the system, of course, it doesn't change the system. It might get a little publicity. Little publicity. People say, "Oh, another corruption," but yeah, we got to do a systematic change to the whole corrupt system.
Correct. That's a good take. And let me counter by saying instead that they should refuse and get fired because then you could sue for wrongful termination. And then you've got again another huge spotlight on the corruption that's happening in the DOJ.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. Yeah.
No, still very good on
I
both.
just don't know, you know, maybe what is it? Maybe the illegal part is just a wink wink, right? So there, if they refuse to do their stuff and get fired, the Biondi and the others are going to come up with some excuse about why it's a fair termination because the guy didn't do something else. They typically do that. They blame it on somebody is not competent for something else as opposed to the actual thing that they're really firing you for.
Yeah, that's why they'd have to go to court. But also, can I add in there that even though they would be incompetent, the decision is already decided as if it's like a Kardashian court,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So they go, it doesn't matter whether they are competent or not. The ruling had already been decided on it, so it's like, oh, it's not going to matter when they're going after their political opponent. So
No,
that was
yeah, sure.
that was good. And continuing on, moving forward. So did this happened a while ago, but the president was at a Ford plant in Michigan, and there was like this real kind of silence, and someone yelled out, "Pedo protector!" from the floor, some union member, and they tried to fire him for that or punish him in some way, and his union is sticking up for him. I have not actually gotten an update, but I wanted to, it falls back into the discussions we've had in the past. Do your rights end once you walk through the workplace door, right? Is that something that happens. I mean, of course, we don't think that's true. And I've never practiced that. In fact, the one time where I was like, I was going to keep my politics to myself moving forward in my career, um, 2016 happened, and I was like, well, fuck that because fuck fascism. And we saw way back then where it was headed. Um, and so, but anyway, yeah. So I thought that I'm glad that their union is sticking up for them. Yep, I'm sure
Yeah.
it's really, really good. And I thought it was a great fucking protest. I would have fucking yelled it too. I thought it was badass. A dead silence. And because it's true as well. Like, what are you going to do? Like, it's not like they were making something up, right?
Honestly, I kind of get it. I mean, I would yell at a criminal and a tyrant that he's a pedo protector.
And I was glad. I thought that was an interesting one. Oh, and then that goes into again for protesting possible new ways to be safe when going out to rallies and doing direct actions. So there has been a lot of discussion now, especially as AI is taking off and there's cameras everywhere. Anyway, you're constantly under surveillance. Your phone is tracking you. If you right now, like my phone is next to me, and I start talking about I need new jeans, I bet you when I pick up my phone after this meeting, there'll be Levi's ads on all my social media because it's always listening. So there has been in many groups now asking people to not bring, and I have stop bringing your phone. Stop bringing your phones, right? You're gonna have to go back to the old thing. You want my information? Here, let me write it down for you. Yeah, here's those fucking pens, and don't get caught with your notes and destroy it afterwards, until you get it in or whatever. Um, but trying to because there is people they're using drones, body cam, just everywhere already under surveillance so much, um, and trying to be safe and got to bring actual gas masks, that are rated for chemical weapons, goggles or helmets, and shield stuff is doesn't like those are now becoming standard for direct actions. Luckily, also for 100% transparency, we have not seen that surprisingly in Oakland yet. I remember back in the days after Oscar Grant and Tamir Rice, they sure did come out hardcore stormtroopers and beat us and shoot tear gas us. They did it at Occupy. They shot right into the encampment where there was kids early morning. And I don't know if that's because of, we do have probably one of the most progressive mayors we've had, named Barbara Lee. Well, I do know, that, and I used to not like him, but Noah Gaio, one of the first anti-ICE rallies down in the Fruitvale, he was there and he said specifically that he negotiated with OPD, do not, if I need you, I'll call you, but you don't need to show up. They didn't. Every rally has been incredibly, incredibly peaceful, but they're also the same old rah-rah chants, fucking our streets, your streets, the shit too, which I don't does anything. And it's not our streets. If they wanted to shut it down, they could, and it's happening all around the country. They've done it in the past. And just shouting stand up, fight back is not necessarily standing up and fighting back. And what do you mean by fight? And I'm gonna go, oh my gosh, you just keep going down the rabbit hole. And it goes back to not only do that's also how it would be safe if all of these rallies, we have thousands, 5,000 people. Don't tell me there's not enough out of 5,000 to find 6 candidates, 3 for school board, 3 for city council, and even mayor, and with enough people to be their treasurer or campaign manager and people that would do it. I just think mathematically that's impossible, right? There's no way. Now, convincing them to do it, convincing them to break up into breakout groups and actually convincing, because usually, in my experience, the best people for the job don't want to do it. They say no, and I get it. I get it. But what's the alternative? I mean, we're literally living in the "they came for" poem, right? It is something out of not even 1984 worse, right? And they always want to compare it to like, I mean, I've even switched to just fascism as opposed to too, but want to compare it to what was happening in Germany and all that. I don't think we need, we seem to have forgotten that the Nazis got a lot of their shit from America, from how they treated the segregation over here, the Christian schools for the First Nations and shit. They got all that shit from America, right? And also don't forget too that one of the reasons that Israel right now, the shit why Israel had to exist is because no one wanted all the displaced Jews. Russia didn't want them. Fucking they weren't, anti-Semitism isn't anything new. They no one, Disney, Ford, all them motherfuckers were historically anti-Semitic. They didn't want them here. And so they had to find or create a place in the middle of Palestine where historically, ancestrally, they had also grown up and create a country for them, right? That's kind of what happened. Um, but yeah, I think we kind of gloss over that a lot. Part of that is because we don't educate it, we don't teach it. If you're not going out and looking for Howard Zinn and Tim Weiss, you're not going to find it. It's not just coming up on your feed, as it were. That also ties back to what we were discussing and getting to is that the phones are listening, but it isn't going to fucking show me any of the knowledge shit I'm talking about, right? Tim Weiss won't all of a sudden start popping up over on my feed, but I'm gonna get those Levi's ads though, that's for sure. Yeah. And I know we have a person first timers. Like, do you have any experience with direct action or protests or anything like that?
Me?
Yes, correct.
No, I actually want to go to a protest. Actually, I've never been to one.
Oh, wow. Well, definitely, it seems that as much as I am cynical, it seems that as we rotate, sorry, as we walk and sip our Starbucks into fascism, uh, it is also motivating a lot of first timers to come out. I'm actually, when we get into the Bay Resistance here, a little down too, I'm scheduling a legal observer training and a know your rights training specifically for protests too. That'll be happening here probably next month. But continue discussing the last one too. The halftime show, as a person who's in entertainment, I will tell you, for me, I didn't think it was that great of a show. It had a great message. He checked every fucking box that he needed to check. But I also will say they should have on the big jumbotron. You should have had it translated into English because he was saying some good stuff. And yes, great, sing it in Spanish, but just like when we do it in English, there should be Spanish translation, right? Hell, you should be able to. The NFL's $1 billion not-for-profit. They should have fucking translate those ear translations or whatever for all. But you paid all that money to go to like Super Bowl or playoff or something. Maybe not have to do it for every game, but special games, events, or whatever. Fucking provide it with your ticket. I bet you could get them hella cheap because you're going to buy fucking tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of them. Anyway, did anyone see the halftime show online? Have you, if you
No,
watched Super
I
Bowl?
I heard about it, but it's you could tell the difference. Like our patriotism is like very low. Like even though they're both like from America, like even though they're both like American, like they rather just like nah, it's dog shit. Like the American. You know what I mean? So I mean, I agree. Like yeah, it should be translated in English, but I just think that it was it was the day out of the year that we come together as Americans to celebrate this game. You know what I mean?
Yes. And they didn't, it's also entertainment. They actually just won a circuit court lawsuit that the NFL is not required to promise a fair outcome because they're sports entertainment, like WWE, like the wrestling and shit. So it's not even, it's all there, like the distractions. There's a great spoken word piece called Shut Up, Be Happy by Jello Biafra. And one of the lines is in it, because it's basically like, oh, martial law has been declared. But one of the lines in the poem, in the spoken word piece as well, is all sports programs will go on as scheduled. Like they'll always be the bread and circuses, right? The NBA is going to go on and all that stuff too. And see, the Olympics are going on and see how much flack any athlete is getting for speaking out in any form, nuts gear and all that stuff too. So it was great that again he checked all the message boxes and stuff like that in the time when we were slipping into fascism. But yeah, and I also, like I said, just from someone who's done large shows and all that, yeah, I didn't think it was that great of a show. There's been better performances. So, but anyway, yeah. And that's the discussion. Move this down. Oh, and now we're back to the event. So we have the holiday party report back, which I had a really good time way back in December. Um, I think it was a success. Greg, did you hear any complaints about the holiday party back in December?
No, trying to think. No, I didn't hear any real complaints. In fact, um, in particular, I think the food people were saying, "Yeah, there's tons of food here." We had tons of food, and I think three or four people brought chicken, so we had lots of chicken.
Yes.
No, it was great. I think we had a good number of people. It wasn't overwhelmingly crowded, but it was enough people to make it feel like it was a good number of people, and everybody was engaged, and yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
think it
felt
went.
good. I was buzzed. And the next one too. Oh, and I think it is over, Greg, but the candidate petition signing parties, are those all
Yeah,
done?
it is over, and relative to the relatively small number of volunteers that we typically have, I think we did pretty good. Um, I think our two statewide candidates, Marjorie and Glenn, probably got in the neighborhood of 700 or 800 signatures. About maybe half of them were from local, Alameda County, and our candidate running against Buffy Wicks, Mark Rendon, probably got in that neighborhood about 400 something locally. So 400 signatures is pretty good, but especially especially for the statewide. I mean, the statewide you need 6,000, and so we're going to have to raise a bunch of money, especially for the statewide. A smaller amount of money for Mark and also Michael Goldstein, the two assembly candidates. We're going to be sending out a message, hopefully in less than a week. They have until March 6th to raise their money. So hopefully we'll get a message out sometime this coming week to donate. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I had, in fact, those particular type of events, I actually like them. I love the restaurants that were picked, the cafes that were picked, restaurants. Food was good, company was good. Yeah, I enjoyed it. And even though it's two more down, but I've also seen at the Bay Resistance meetings, people bringing in the same petitions to be signed as well.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then that is also right back to the Suds, Snacks, and Socialism on Sunday. Well, I guess we had like a bunch of people that hadn't been out in a while and all that stuff. And I do love, again, another one, Starry Plow. Love that place. The food is good. The room is good for having the event. You can fit like a good number of people, and it is well attended. Um, my only things on the two is like it just doesn't is never radical enough for me. Like there always should be some sort of tie-in. We got into this at the county meeting um, to actual action, like as opposed to I don't need to hear the problems anymore. We all know the problems, right? That's great. Do your presentation, but then at the end, I want, okay, well, what's a good way to put something into action of how we can make the change? And have that, and then
You're
also Q&A.
you went to the Suds event about a week ago. It was about a
Yep.
week ago.
Yeah,
Because you may know that essentially at the same time, Butch Ware had a rally down in San Leandro.
I do know.
So I initially wasn't planning to go, but then they changed the program and they added some other acts and people. Originally, there was a bunch of musicians that wasn't exactly my kind of music, but then they changed and they added some a discussion forum, and some other stuff, and it turned out to be a pretty good event, I thought. Of course, Roger Waters was the headliner, I guess you'd say, and yeah, he sang one of his classics. I don't really know much about Pink Floyd, but anyway, apparently it was one of the title songs from one of his albums.
Brick in the Wall. If
I know Pink
Nah,
Floyd. I know Pink Floyd.
Me too.
it begins with a W. I can't remember. We are anyway. There was one title song from one of his albums he sang, and he sang a couple others, and there was a comedian. There was a comedian. There was an interesting little candidate forum. I mean, not candidate, but a discussion forum where Roger Waters, Butch Ware, and two other guests they discussed various topics. They had a moderator that would ask a question and then they would discuss it, and it's kind of interesting. But anyway, it was a good event. I think there was like almost 400, maybe almost 400 people there. And there were numerous standing ovations, especially towards the end. And I think most people felt it was a good event.
Yeah, my only thing with them is I wish they also did, no one turned away for lack of funds. That's my only critique on Butch's events.
Yeah, I think they did have a couple of discount categories, but yeah, I didn't see any of that one.
Yeah, a lot of places don't because but yeah. Anything else? No, that goes right into Bay Resistance. Speaking of, like I said, I was at the meetings and I am a facilitator for Peralta Hacienda. We've had our second meeting. We're gonna have in-person meetings. Like I said, looks like we're gonna start leaning towards. We haven't really picked a permanent direction for the pod, but it looks like it seems like because of the trainings that we ended up voting on and moving forward with is going to be legal observers, which we have lacked at all the rallies as well. Luckily, we haven't needed them at the Fruitvale so much. Other pods are doing a lot of foot patrols, which is good because they're preparing. Like I said, even though it hasn't been like Minneapolis here yet, I firmly believe it's coming. I agree with at the last movie night that it's a numbers game, right? They can go to Minneapolis because they can send 3,000 there and overwhelm the population. Like there's just not a lot of people. They can't come to Oakland or San Francisco. We would overwhelm them. They'd have to bring in significant amount of troops to do what they do in Minneapolis. So. And all of it too is like their testing ground, I also believe, to see how long before the people will flip the fuck out. Or we'll all decide to not participate in the capitalist system, one or the other, and all that stuff too. So that's what's happening on Bay Resistance. I have already sent an email to Berkeley Cop Watch and the National Lawyers Guild to schedule. There's some trainings. There's 6 people in the Peralta Hacienda pod, but others are interested when they heard that's what we're doing, so it may end up being a larger event. But yeah, that's what I'm doing too. Any questions about Bay Resistance? No. All right. Are there any announcements? None. Well, this is Vicente Cruz, Oakland Green's event and fundraising coordinator, and that will conclude the recorded portion of our public meeting. You are more than welcome. If you show up, you can hear everything else, but some things are closed door meetings, and that's what this is going to be. So we thank you, and remember, stay vigilant and get out there.